Oh, another box has arrived on my desk that's promising another good time. As I said a few videos ago, it's always fun to see large boxes on the desk for unboxing. This is the KLIM TurboFrost, an enormous gaming laptop cooler that claims to be able to tame the beast that is my ROG Zephyrus Duo 16. Let's get it unboxed and tested. But before we continue with the video, let's keep the lights on here in the studio. This video is brought to you by Sneak Attack Design Lab. They're a clothing company that specializes in technical fashion, more commonly known as techwear, and you can see me in their clothes in most of my videos. I've been supporting their brand ever since I met them back in 2019, and now they're returning the favor. Head on over to this link, you can find it in the description as well, to get 10% off your order from their site. Check their clothes out, you're bound to see something badass over there that'll look great on you. Thank you very much to Sneak Attack for this exclusive promo for my viewers. Now, back to the video. So the KLIM TurboFrost arrives in a huge black box with some tasty silver print on the cover. It looks to be much more minimal in design than the Llano V12 we've previously taken a look at before. At the back we can see a list of the product's features, along with translations into other languages. Dope. Alright, let's get it opened. Upon opening up the box, we're greeted with the accessories nestled inside the middle of the cooler, wrapped in some bubble wrap to protect it from bumps during shipping. Let's take a look at the accessories first. First off, we have the power cable, then a little included fused adapter, just to keep the cooler safe from power surges or plugging it into an outlet with the wrong voltage. Next up, we have the USB-A to USB-C cable. This is for connecting the laptop to the built-in USB hub on the KLIM TurboFrost. It seems to be USB 3.0 because of the blue coloration in the contact. Next, we have a strip of foam. This seems to be a replacement filter for the intake of the cooler. Then we have two metal arms. These are used to hold the laptop in place. I'll demonstrate this later. Then we have the manual, which we will instinctively ignore. And lastly, we have a black envelope, which contains stickers, which we always enjoy on this channel, and a little comic strip depicting KLIM's standard procedure when shipping out their products. Apparently, every single one receives the royal treatment. You can even send in your photo so they can shop it inside and you can print it out for yourself. At the back, we can also see the team responsible for developing the TurboFrost. This is pretty endearing to see. Kudos to the KLIM team for doing this. Definitely makes the product memorable. Alright, that's all the accessories. Let's head on over to the TurboFrost for product tour time. Upon taking out the KLIM TurboFrost from its bubble wrap packaging, we're greeted by its large top side. As we can see, there is a large rectangle of closed cell foam at the top. This is where you're going to rest your laptop. There is a cutout at the middle, as well as a piece of removable foam that's meant to catch smaller laptops. Taking it off, we can see that there are some metal pads at the bottom of the foam, so it can stick to these magnetic inserts at the top. A very ingenious way of doing this, KLIM. Once that's removed, we can see the top aluminum plate of the TurboFrost, with a cutout at the middle revealing two curved air channels. It's good to see aluminum being used here, as it can conduct and route heat more efficiently than plastic can. As for the cutout, we see that there are two curved channels for air to go through, curving from the sides and meeting towards the middle, so it can feed to the bottom of the laptop. Moving on down to the lower part of the top, we can see the buttons for controlling the functions of the TurboFrost. At the left is the power button, followed by the plus and minus buttons, the display, the RGB color button, then the RGB mode button. At both sides, we can see that there are 3 slots where we can insert the metal latches we unboxed earlier. This is good. Adjustable in height so it can account for thinner or thicker laptops, and adjustable in depth to account for longer or larger laptops. At the sides, we can see a single channel of lights running through the middle. This will light up in RGB once we plug it in later. At the back, we can see the I/O. We have 3 USB-A 3.0 ports, the USB-C in, and the DC port for power. This is also where we can see the tilting mechanism for the whole cooler. There is a lower stand part that hinges from the front of the cooler, and the metal stand props down and can rest on 4 different angles by catching on some teeth on the sides. I like this. It allows for higher tilt angles and is much more stable compared to a keyboard-style footstand. Flipping the TurboFrost over, we can see that there is a window here for the filter. Removing the cover will allow us to change the filter and even take a peek at the insides of the TurboFrost. From here, we can see 2 of the 4 centrifugal fans inside. It's pretty sweet. Alright, that's the product tour. Let's plug this in and set it up. Alright, as soon as we plug in the fan, we can see the KLIM TurboFrost light up with RGB. It's pretty cool so far. Upon turning it on, we can see the display light up and it's immediately set to the lowest RPM setting, 1500 RPM. As usual, we're going to do my very scientific test of putting a kitchen towel on the vent to test the strength of the air being pushed through. At the lowest setting of 1500 RPM, we can see that it can kind of push off the paper towel, but it's very obvious that this is the silent setting and very little air and air pressure is being exerted. When pressing the plus button, the RPM increases in increments of 500 RPM and we can max it out at 4000 RPM. On this mode, it's practically impossible to keep the paper towel on the air channel. It's actually blowing out enough air that I can feel it reach my face from where I'm unboxing it from. It's pretty impressive. Although I would like to address something written on KLIM's promotional material about this. They advertise it as being able to run at 16,000 RPM because it has 4 centrifugal fans running at 4,000 RPM each. I'm sorry, KLIM, but that's not how it works. RPM doesn't add up, only the amount of air that the fan can move. So instead of advertising a 4 times amount of RPM, you can actually advertise that it can do 4 times amount of CFM or cubic feet per minute. That would be much more accurate. Alright, heading on over to RGB, pressing the mode button cycles through different modes. We have a rainbow scrolling from left to right, a static rainbow, a static breathing rainbow, a blinking rainbow, kind of Christmas lights with a linear wipe, a visor type that moves then adds up, an RGB fade, an RGB carousel with a rotating white spot, and then we're back to the rainbow scroll. We can also change the colors via the RGB color button here, which can change the color to white, cyan, blue, purple, red, yellow, and green. And lastly, pressing and holding the RGB color and RGB modes button together turns off the RGB lighting completely. Lots of choices for all you RGB heads out there. Alright, that's everything for the setup. Let's get it tested. As is usual for my laptop cooler tests, we're going to measure their performance by trying them on 3 laptops running FurMark 2. The KLIM TurboFrost will be tested at 3 RPMs, 1500, 2500, and 4000 RPM. Then we'll see how effective each setting is in cooling the system. Let's go. Starting off with our thin, light, and small laptop, the Asus ZenBook 14X OLED Space Edition, running an Intel Core i5-12500H with integrated Iris Xe graphics. Running FurMark 2 for 5 minutes tops out the GPU at 77 degrees Celsius. Once the KLIM TurboFrost kicks in at its 1500 RPM setting, we see temps slightly go down to 74 degrees Celsius. Moving up to 2500 RPM brings down the temps further to 69 degrees Celsius, and at max 4000 RPM, the temps settle down at a comfortable 64 degrees Celsius. It's an impressive first outing on our lightweight laptop. Hopefully this trend continues on. Moving up to our middleweight laptop, the ROG Zephyrus G16 2024, running the new Intel Core Ultra 9 185H and an NVIDIA RTX 4080 laptop 12GB GPU. FurMark 2 for 5 minutes immediately raises the temps to a crispy 82 degrees Celsius. Predictable since this is a hot laptop running hot components. Turning on the KLIM TurboFrost at 1500 RPM does very little to the temps, as it settled down to just 81 degrees Celsius, just 1 degree downwards. Turning it up to 2500 RPM drops the temps further down to a more reasonable 77 degrees Celsius, and while at 4000 RPM, we see it stabilize at a relatively comfortable 73 degrees Celsius. That's not bad for long hauls of gaming. And finally, the hot beast that is the ROG Zephyrus Duo 16 2022, packing the notoriously toasty AMD Ryzen 9 6900HX and the NVIDIA RTX 3080 Ti. It's a dual-screen thermal beast that I have to do battle with every day. FurMark 2 straight up decimates its temps by going straight to 90 degrees Celsius and immediately thermal throttling itself. 1500 RPM on the KLIM TurboFrost does nothing, as our average temps maybe got a 0.2 to 0.3 degrees Celsius lower, but it's still thermal throttling at 90 degrees Celsius. 2500 RPM got us a huge jump as the thermal throttling stopped and it stabilized at around 87 degrees Celsius. Finally, moving up to 4000 RPM locks in the temperatures at 85 degrees Celsius. It's still hot, but it's no longer thermal throttling, and that's always a win for anything temps related with the Zephyrus Duo. And of course, for our last part, this is the sound test. Like with our temperature testing, I recorded the sound profile of the KLIM TurboFrost at 1500, 2500, and 4000 RPM. Take a listen here. Yeah, it's whisper quiet at low and really loud at 4000 RPM. So, what do we think about the KLIM TurboFrost? For me, it's hard not to bring up my current large format gaming laptop cooler, the Llano V10, into the conversation. Because while they look the same, they're operating with different fan types, sizes, speeds, and air delivery formats. And comparing the numbers from the KLIM TurboFrost against the Llano V10, we can see that the TurboFrost reliably delivers slightly lower temps, and even perceived noise is lower too. But then again, this is not an apples to apples comparison yet. I'll be releasing a video soon that pits these coolers head to head in a much more controlled setting to really see which one is the best. Stay tuned to the channel for that. But as it stands, with the KLIM TurboFrost coming in at $100 or around 5,700 pesos, it's just great value to keep your laptop's heat in check. I would probably recommend this more than the Llano V10, but then again, your mileage may vary. So that's a KLIM TurboFrost gaming laptop cooling pad. Do you have any questions about it? Leave them down in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. While you're there, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps out a lot. That's it. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.